This Würth 400 betting picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, NASCAR, F1, and more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com using promo code RACESGPN to get a 100% deposit match.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. We go cup racing around the Monster Mile. It is Miles, the Monster Dover, crushing Jimmy Johnson's car above the track. I love it, and he'll be crushing somebody else's car by the end of the day, I'm sure.
11-time winner, Jimmy Johnson at this track, Rod. My goodness, it's great.
I'm telling you, it was fun to know that he basically owns this track. And then they made it official by putting him above everybody else as you walk through and you get to bask in the glory that is Jimmy Johnson. We're a long way away from those days, but I still love to live in that. So checking in real quick, even the chat's blowing up before we get started, old fashioned saying Guten Tag. Yes. This is the, see now I don't know. I think I'm saying it wrong, but I'm also not, German. So
you're not, Rod? Wow. I'm shocked.
Würth 400. So that'll be the last time I try to pronounce it.
Yes. That's we've had our full usage of umlauts or whatever those things are called now. So we're good to go.
Good pull. Yeah, absolutely. But yes, it is Dover. It is yet another different track style that we're going to. I mean, obviously we've been to a mile before, but at the same time, this is still a different mile altogether than any other mile that we've been to so far.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Dover is its own thing just in general. It's hard to compare to anywhere. Probably the closest comparison of a track we've been to that you could pull is Bristol. But if you remember the tire debacle at Bristol, good luck pulling anything from that. So, it is kind of out on its own here. Concrete track. We don't have too many of those on the circuit, of course. And it's a high speed 1 mile. It's like a bull ring, basically. I mean, it's high banked. One little mistake, unless you're Jimmy Johnson, that one time in qualifying where he had the greatest save in the history of racing, you lose it at all here, and you're likely messing the car up pretty good.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes it so difficult this week to actually handicap this because obviously you have all of the past Dovers to go off of. But Cody, look, this season, I feel like it's been so hard to get footing, especially from a handicap standpoint, because you can't just say, this car's been fast because, okay, this car's been fast, but where? Has it been fast on a super speedway? Has it been fast on a road course? Has it been fast on a short track? Has it been fast in a mile and a half? Okay, this car has been fast, but different cars have been fast in different places. So it's like it's hard to say which teams are actually doing well because you look at a guy like Denny Hamlin, right? You win a couple races and then you fade back into obscurity because of a super speedway, because of a road course, because of a short track. And it's like, it's hard to know who's got a good hold on this season so far.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, we've kind of seen the run of everything, and we've had a lot of different track styles. We're coming off of, obviously, a super speedway, so hard to look at much there. I mean, a slight momentum maybe you could carry over, but it's not going to be a one-to-one transition, obviously. So yeah, it is kind of tough. We've only had a couple of intermediate tracks. This is going to be the intermediate package. So you've got that part of it, of course, but yeah, it's really has been up and down. I mean, obviously William Byron kind of on top the most, but even that being said, he's had a couple of weeks where he hasn't been the best. So yeah, I mean, in general, Hendrick and Gibbs, of course, have dominated a majority of the year. They've won everything outside of the super speedways thus far, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, indeed. Old fashioned football checking in with us one more time, saying according to Le Google, Germans say it's Würth. Yes, like the Würth 400. I can get that behind that. Americans say Ert. Yes, I can get that too. And Google AI says it's very unclear. So, yeah. What's it? Boji Joe saying Seabell is a magnet this year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a good driver, but dude,
disaster.
Exactly. Robert Williams saying, let's go. My hometown track. Let's go Truex, but I don't want to bet with my heart. Hey, Truex has been.
Your mind might tell you to, or yeah, more than your heart might tell you to bet on Truex. We'll see, Rod.
We'll definitely talk about him soon. All right. Well, let's talk about this race. It is 400 laps around this 1 mile paved track for an even 400 miles at the Dover Motor Speedway in Dover, Delaware. Yes, this is exactly where the same city as is the track. So you look at last May, the Würth 400 as well. Oh, I said it again. It was Martin Truex Jr. that won this race, like we said. 7 cautions in that one for 46 laps. Margin of victory, a half a second. 19 lead changes in that one. Average speed of this race, 115. That's the thing. These guys aren't going to get going a whole lot faster than, this isn't like, this is a high speed mile, but we're not talking like speeds of 190 like we had last week. So these guys,
it's high speed because you're constantly at a high speed the entire. I mean, yeah, there's not slowing down for tight turns or anything. It's one big high speed nonstop. You're pulling some G's type of track.
It's a conveyor belt, as it were, just sort of whipping you around fiercely. Cody, let's take a look at the entry list. Who's some notable names that are in this? Obviously, it's the same cast of characters for the most part, but there are a few names that are standing out.
Yeah, well, biggest thing was announced today. We kind of speculated about this yesterday on the recap show. Eric Jones is going to miss the race. They're saying a fractured vertebra in his back. He says week to week, which is probably the best way to tackle it, of course. But I know we saw Eric Almirola miss quite a bit of time with this injury a few years ago. So Corey Heim was already signed as the Legacy Motor Club relief driver for both Legacy and 2311. Actually, he was their top relief guy. We know him from the Truck Series, of course, how he's been running well there. Also been moonlighting in the Xfinity Series in that 26 car, which we'll be doing again this week, but also going to be filling in for Eric Jones now in the 43 car. Eric Jones has already been granted a medical waiver, so he is eligible for the playoffs, likely, and he probably would have had to have won anyways, but likely will have to win a race to make the playoffs. So unfortunate news there with Eric Jones. Obviously, we wish him the best and hope that he has a speedy recovery, but it'll be a week-to-week basis. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Corey Heim in this car for a while. We saw it last year with Alex Bowman. I think he missed 3 races after the sprint car accident, kind of a similar injury, but it seemed like maybe they rushed him back too much from that. I don't know how much they'll look at Bowman and Elliott both and their injuries last year and how maybe they came back too soon. Maybe he takes more time out of the car. It'll be interesting, but we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. There is 37 entries, Rod, so you got your normal cast of characters. Obviously, Heim in the 43. The 15 is back to Kaz Gralla this week. AJ Allmendinger back in the 16 car. And 11-time Cup Series winner at Dover, Jimmy Johnson is back. He did not win 11 times in this car, Rod. So we'll see how Dover treats him in this version of the NASCAR car. But he will be back in the 84 this week at probably one of his favorite tracks where he had obviously more success than anyone has had in taming Miles the Monster.
Well, I got to tell you, my heart wanted to just go flood the books with Jimmy Johnson bets, but I was like, nah, can't do that. I mean,
we did pick him as our preseason one and done.
We did
for Dover, Rod, burning that one spot. I'll have to look into that a little more this week. I don't know if I'm super comfortable with that pick anymore, but yeah, that we do have him over there. So we did leave that entry and we haven't touched it. We've left it with all the preseason picks to see how it does. So it'll be in there for that pick at least.
I kind of think we can't go away from it. We honestly have to ride some Jimmy just because if there's a track that he can get it done, I will tell you his odds when we get to the winners. But I mean, it's like, yeah, if there's a track that he can get it done, it's got to be this one, right?
He ain't winning, Rob. But
no,
there's a track where he can run okay. It's here, yes.
Maybe
maybe he'll crack the top 25.
I wish there was a top 25 bet for him. Actually, books give us a finishing position on him.
There you go.
And then we'll go from there.
Underdog. Throw him in there. Yeah, exactly.
Give me a bone, underdog. Give me I want a finishing positions on Jimmy Johnson, so that way I know where we're at. But yeah, as far as that Eric Jones situation is concerned, man, if you're in the Discord, make sure you go check out the audio that was from that. Oh my God. Like as soon as he crunched in, a lot of times when you hear those wrecks and you hear the guys immediately go, I'm okay. Yeah. This time crunched out. He's like,
yeah, that in-car ride. I mean, it is rough, Rod. If you listen to it, you can hear it in his voice. And he says, I don't know if I'm okay. Obviously broke his back, so not okay, as we know. But yeah, you could hear the pain in his voice. Obviously, we've all seen the video at this point of how hard and bad of a crash that was. Again, to the safety of NASCAR and to the safety of these cars. Yeah, he broke a back, but we've seen that exact crash kill people before. So, you'll take a broken back every day over that, and we'll see him back in the car this season, of course.
1,000% you'll take a broken back over the alternative. So, yep, definitely good to see him there. All right, let's talk about this race. Let's talk about all this stuff that we've got going on. But first, before we do that, we have to tell you about, we just talked about their fabulous finishing positions, but let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest way to play your fantasy sports. Plus, the NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor is Underdog Fantasy. They want to make it a lot more interesting. You can play their pick'em game in basketball, and it's as simple as selecting higher or lower on a player's stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. And as we know, as racing fans, they give us finishing positions, and you can pick higher than or lower than or actually better than or worse than, which makes it easier for us, that projected finishing position. And then you just stack them all up, make a pick, make 5, and watch that multiplier rise. And if you find those little spicy chilies, there's also other sports out there like baseball and I think hockey too is still going on. I don't know. There's stuff that exists outside of the racing world. I promise you it's in there. They got little spicy chilies. If you build up enough of those, you can win up to 100 times on your money. It's so much fun. Plus, Underdog Fantasy is available in 30 plus states, including my home state of California, Texas, and even Canada. So hang tight. At the end of the week, we're going to give you all of our favorite Underdog Fantasy plays for the slate for both, for all the races, in fact, that are out there available for you. So make sure to join us for that. Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash airdrops, special giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow at Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out for those. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. Like I said, they also launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. So make sure you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN. Underdog is going to double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code RACESGPN.
Checking in with the chat, Rod. Boji Joe says, just bet Chase Elliott. Log into your Amazon, make your purchases for all the things you can never afford. Chase Elliott's going to come up in this show, so make sure you keep around and listen on where we're betting him. Boji Joe says, I miss JJ Racing Long Beach, and also says, who wins, Junior or JJ? Junior, much better chance at winning in that Xfinity car than JJ has in the Cup car, unfortunately, these days. Robert trying to read my mind. Noah Gragson top 10 pick. That didn't make the card, although Noah found his way into the card. Don't you worry, Robert. But I do like Noah Gragson top 10 if you want to toss that in there. I went a different route on the top 10. Well, actually, I went a lot of routes on the top 10 this week, Rod. But, yeah, I found a different way to get in on Noah. Don't worry.
People are starting to understand your betting habits there, Cody. So good thing you're not betting.
I got to shake it up. I got to shake it up and pick some different people.
Or
right,
shake
Larson and SVG. Go place your bets, and we'll see you next week.
Are we on a super speedway?
Oh, that's right. We're not. Well, I wouldn't be betting on Larson. Again, hey, listen to the recap show if you yesterday. Of course, we talked about all those bets against Kyle Larson that hit. Again, nothing personal against Larson, but that's how it goes. Also, Rod, I had a nice screaming rant if you would like to hear that, and I've got a few comments on it. But hey, stuff needed to be said. It was said. I will do my best not to yell today.
Yeah, I was going to say, do yourself a favor, go back and listen to that. That was fantastic listening. Don't listen while you're drinking something, because the vibrations of that rant will probably knock out all of the
I think Chris said I was scaring his dog. He tried to turn it on in the morning, letting the dogs out, said I was scaring his dogs. So maybe don't have the dogs around, because I got a little into it, but
little heated. All right, Cody. Well, let's start laying down some bets for this race. Where do we start, my friend?
Well, Rod, actually, I don't want to start with the race. I want to start before the race. We're going to jump over to qualifying. They've got qualifying stuff up and available for us. So this qualifying for the Cup Series will take place bright and early Saturday morning, 10:20 a.m. in the Central Time Zone. You can convert it there for yourself. But we're going to start with qualifying. Got a couple of things. So Caesars has got head-to-head matchups up for qualifying, which is always important to note, because I thought this, first of all, I thought this was a race match, and I was going to literally just Forrest Gump run to Iowa and just place everything, the entire, all of my life savings on this bet. But not a race matchup, but it is a qualifying matchup. I'm going to take it anyways. A little bit juiced up, Rod. Join pay the juice if you lose. I'm not worried about losing this one. Denny Hamlin over Kyle Busch -145. I know it's a big number, but what have you seen this year from Kyle Busch that gives you any type of excitement, any type of hope, any type of faith, anything? Texas, you could toss that in there, right? He did okay at Texas. Outside of that, Rod, nothing. But Cody, he was on the pole here at Dover last year. That's right, Rod. He was on the pole here at Dover last year because he won 3 races early in the season, was the points leader, and qualifying got rained out. So don't look at that and say, well, he won the pole last year. Why couldn't he do it again? And I don't care what he did last year, because he won 3 races at this point last year, and he's looked like shit this year. So keep that in mind. So let's go back and look over the last couple of races, right? We're not going to look at super speedways because it's completely different. Texas, Kyle Busch didn't qualify, so we're not going to look at that either. Martinsville, Denny Hamlin, 8th, Kyle Busch 11th. Richmond, Denny 11th, Kyle 15th. Bristol, the most similar that it's going to be in qualifying, and you can actually look a little bit here more so at that, because we didn't have the tire debacle in qualifying. It was just straight up running. Denny Hamlin sat on the pole. Kyle Busch was 14th. Let's go to Phoenix. Kyle Busch was 31st, Rod. A lot of speed over there at RCR. Denny Hamlin also on the pole. Denny's got multiple poles this season. Las Vegas, I will give it to Kyle. He ran 21st. Denny was 28th, just had a bad day, but Kyle was only 21st. Not that good. Denny Hamlin is consistently one of the fastest cars, one of the best starters. He's always making it to the second round. I mean, you might have this in hand before we even get to the second round. Like, I am going to think that Denny Hamlin gets to the second round here and Kyle Busch doesn't, and you're going to have this bet cashed. So I like that. And then also Denny Hamlin to win the pole 7-1, Rod. I like that as well. I just mentioned multiple poles this year, and he always shows up fast in qualifying. He's good at laying down one hot lap and getting it done. I think that he can do it this week. So when he qualifies on the pole, he will undoubtedly beat Kyle Busch, because you can't qualify better than the pole, and you'll cash both these bets. So Denny Hamlin over Kyle Busch in qualifying on Saturday, -145 on Caesars, and to win the pole 7-1.
You could have probably given me every single statistic that would have backed up Kyle Busch's beating Denny Hamlin, and I still would have said no. I'm still taking the Hamlin side of this.
Like, you could go back and look over previous years, and I'm sure that Kyle Busch has qualified well here. He's done well at this track previously, and actually this track probably more so than any other track. I'm looking more at track history even prior to the next gen than anywhere else we go, but you also have to have some type of current form, and Kyle has the farthest thing from current form good to anything. I mean, it is all bad for Kyle Busch lately, and you just have to ride that. I think that, again, just a glance at last year, Kyle Busch on the pole, but it's not because he ran out there and laid down the fastest lap. And maybe he could have at that time because of the streak he was on, but it's a different thing right now with him. So, you just completely fade him and run with Denny.
Yep, I'm in the hashtag fade Kyle Busch. Fail Kyle Busch, that thing too. Yeah. I was gonna say I'm in that camp as well. Somebody I'm not necessarily fading, and I'm actually gonna ride him this week as a top 10. That's Josh Berry. top 10 plus 260.
We're still drinking this Kool-Aid, Rod?
Still drinking this Kool-Aid because listen, the eye test tells me that Josh Berry's a lot better than what his finishes are. And at one point he's going to punch through for a decent finish this year as far as where he's run versus where he's finished versus all the stuff that it looks at. I understand and I get it. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not been easy for Josh Berry this season. His average finishing position is 23.5 rather. 16th at Talladega last week, 36th at Fort Worth, 25th at Martinsville, 11th at Richmond, 35th at Austin, 12th at Bristol. I mean, there's so much that's been going on with Josh Berry, and it's tough. The only really one thing that I can hang my hat on is the fact that last season in the 48, he did have a top 10 finish. Now, yes, he was in the 48. He was filling in for Alex Bowman at that point. But again, that just means he can do it. That means in proper equipment, he can do it. Is SHR Hendrick Motorsports equipment? No, but it's not terrible. I mean, look, Kevin Harvick still managed to get every single top 10 he could in SHR equipment, right? So that 4-car is capable of doing it. It's not as if the 4-car all of a sudden got turned into a Pinto and now they're riding around in nothing, right? It's still basically the same equipment, just needs the driver to get it done. He can still get it done. Last year on Dover, he was 12th in terms of total speed, right? So 11th in the 2023 race that he did it. So he was right there. He was right there in the top of the just outside of the top 10 of this one. You look back at what he did in that race as well. Like I said, 11th in total speed ranking. He was 12th in green flag speed, 9th fastest in a late run. His 4th segment speed, 8th. He finished 10th. So again, something he can do. He can get himself somewhere in the vicinity of the top 10. And if he can keep himself there this time, I mean, again, we've had so many different pitfalls for this whole team, right? Super speedways, short tracks, road courses. Like maybe this little monster mile will be where they can all put it together and get Josh Berry into the top 10. Top 10 odds are not all that sexy. I know you found a few sexy ones, but I mean, again, if you look through the top 10s of the last few years, it's all chalk, and they've made sure that they've made that chalk very hard to bet. So Josh Berry plus 260 for a top 10 is something that I think I'd like to pick out outside of all that chalk.
Harrison Burton, Austin Dillon, Corey LaJoie, Voldemort, let's see, Todd Gilliland, Carson Hocevar, Austin Cindric, all drivers that have top 10s this year, Rod. Josh Berry does not have a top 10. He's actually in the list with Zane Smith and Justin Haley as far as full-time drivers with no top 10s. But I will give you some credit too. He has looked good at a couple of times, right? And then kind of lost it late. SHR, I think, has drastically increased their equipment this year, but I think that's in the 10 and 14 car, and I think it's dropped off in the 4 car. So I'm still not on the Josh Berry train. Maybe I'll get there someday, but I have some other top 10s I like a little better than this one, Rob.
Yes, you do. You have plenty of them to get to, and we'll get to those in a second. But let me tell you that if you are thinking of entering the Circa Survivor or Circa Millions contest, but you don't live in Nevada, no problem. It's easy to hire a proxy to submit the picks for you each week for your chance to win millions. You can sign up in Las Vegas and then just submit your picks to our proxy or to your proxy. We've partnered up with the gold standard of proxies over at footballcontestproxy.com. Plus, if you use the promo code SGP at checkout, you're going to save $50 off of the proxy fees. That's right. Just go to footballcontestproxy.com. That's footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP to get $50 off. All right, Cody, speaking of all those top 10s, you are not queuing them up yet, so go ahead and get what you're getting.
I'll get to the top 10s in a minute, Rod. First, we're going to go over to Caesars again, the backdoor speakeasy. You go into the Caesars app, you click the auto tab, and then you stay where it says featured. Underneath of that, it says the name of the race. Then it says the date of the race, April 28th. And then there is, in smaller words, the name of the race again. If you click on the name of the race right there, it will take you into this secret corner of Caesars that nobody wants you to know about, Rod. They've only got 5 drivers listed this week for finishing position. It's Keselowski, Bubba, Truex, McDowell, and William Byron. But I did find 2 of them that I like and that I'm going to take. again, a reminder, these are usually only up early in the week. So it's Tuesday as we're recording this. Wednesday, I don't think I've seen them after Wednesday. So if you're listening to this early on the YouTube, like you should be, or on the podcast quickly, go ahead and try and get these done. They move quickly as well because they hide it. So I think we might be some of the only people that are betting on them. But Rod, William Byron, 7.5. I'm going to take, again, I really need to figure out the terminology on this. Under is finishing better than I believe. So we're going to take William Byron to finish under or better than 7.5, minus 115. Look, William Byron, Rod, is Mr. Consistency in the Cup Series right now, right? Who's more consistent than him? You go back to last season, finished 4th place, but he led 193 laps, had a lot of time spent out front. You go back to 2022, he finished 22nd here, got caught up in some stuff, but 4th in 2021, 4th in 2020. So 3 of the last 4 races, 4th place for William Byron. Last time I checked, that is better than 7.5. He also finished 6th place at Nashville. Nashville's like one of the other few concrete tracks on the circuit. So of note, at least concrete surface-wise, not a direct comparison, of course, but if guys are good there, guys who tend to be good on concrete tend to be good on all the concrete for whatever reason. It races differently. The cars handle differently. So 10 races into the season now, Rod. Crazy we made it this far. 6 top 7 finishes. Again, 7th because that's what we're looking for here, right? A 7th or better. 6 times in 10 races, William Byron has been inside the top 10. That's including road course. That's including super speedways, everything. William Byron, you got to find ways to play him. I had him as an outright rod. I took him off. I might regret that later, but went a different direction. But William Byron's always a guy you have to look at. So love him to finish better than 7.5. And then Brad Keselowski to finish better than 13.5. I like this one as well, Rod. Keselowski coming off of back-to-back second place finishes at Talladega last week. Of course, we all know about that. At Texas as well, he wasn't in second place. So they've got some momentum over there. We've seen RFK not necessarily have all the speed in the intermediates, but at Bristol, that's where, a couple of years ago, Brad almost won, has the late pit issue. Chris ends up winning instead. We've seen them run really well there. In the next-gen car, 8th place last year, 20th in the first season. Obviously, we know RFK improved, so improved from 20th up to 8th. Before that, 16 top 13. Again, I picked 13 because that's the number we're looking for. 16 times in 25 races, he's finished inside the top 13. Again, the 2 second places the last couple of weeks. He was 3rd at Bristol. Take that lightly because of the tire issue, right? But a comp track. 4th at Phoenix, 8th at Richmond, 11th place at Nashville last year. Again, concrete track. So Keselowski, a guy, I don't know why this is set so low, Rod. At 13.5, I feel like it should be better than that. So, I like Brad Keselowski to do this. Boji Joe saying to bet him after qualifying. They never qualify well. The problem is this line won't be available after qualifying, so you'll need to get in on it early. But that being said, a guy to maybe look at top 10 number after qualifying. If he doesn't qualify well, maybe he's able to recover and get that top 10 finish, and would be a bet to toss in over there.
I was very tempted to take the Keselowski car lift on this one, but it's just hard to pull the trigger. I mean, again, I know that he's going to do well, but
spoiler alert, Rod, he is on my card again later, so
yes,
we'll have more things. Nick checking in real quick. Afternoon, gentlemen. Here's a question: will Ford manufacturer win a race? They will win a race. I have confidence in that.
Just not this one.
Probably not this one. I would say is unlikely, although again, like I said, Brad's going to be on the card later, so maybe. Tough to bet on them as far as a winning manufacturer, just because you're not going to, unless you're getting, if it creeps up to where it's a couple of years ago, we hit it at I think you gave it out like plus 550 or something when they hadn't won in a while. Then they snuck up and got one. So if you're getting a number like that, I guess I don't remember what they are this week, but they're tough to bet on. He's also got a 3-leg parlay, top 10s, Chastain, Byron, Hamlin, plus 165. Thoughts? Love the Byron and Hamlin part of it for sure. These guys are consistent. They finish most weeks, although Denny's on a little bit of a string of bad finishes, but for the most part, they're always in the top 10. Chastain, definitely the one that's a little bit of more inconsistency, but again, to the concrete angle of things, he should be good this week. Also, a guy we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So overall, I like it.
Indeed. Although I do like Nick's, my brother's take, ad for Uber reads. That's football proxy, contest proxy. I love that. Uber bets. We need that.
For Uber bets, yes.
Maybe
King,
we need bookies.
King showing up says, dang it, I'm late. Don't worry, King. We haven't got to the Ty Gibbs bet yet, so you're not late for that. And hey, you can always go back and listen to the first part after you listen to the second part.
Sure can. All right. I'm going to move on to one of Ty Gibbs' teammates, and that's Martin Truex Jr. We talked about him earlier, talking about betting with your heart about Martin Truex Jr. I don't think that's that bad of a bet, right? Martin Truex Jr.'s top 5 number is at plus 110 over on Caesars. I mean, when you look back, right, and you look from 2019 on, and 2019 they had 2 races, 2020 they had 2 races, and then 2021 they started only having 1 race in the spring. But the 2019 spring race, he won that race. 2019 fall race, he finished second. Then the next race after that, he finished second. Then he finished second. 2021 and 2022, a couple of rough years for him, 19th and 12th. But he jumped up last year and won this race. And he even started 17th. It's hard to count out Martin Truex Jr. of this. Now, his average finish in total is 11.4 in his 33 starts, but he's got 19 top 10s, 10 top 5s, and 4 wins. He's won 12% of the races in which he's started on this one. Now, granted, it's only 4 of them, but still, that's a rather impressive number. So for him to get a top 5 in this and just do something that he's done more than he hasn't since over the last 5 years, I feel like that's not asking too much out of him, right? I mean, he's a monster on this track, no pun intended, but he led 132 laps in that 2019 race that he ended up winning, 88 laps in the 2020 race where he finished second, 68 laps last year. It's one of those things where at plus money still for him to do something that he's very capable of doing and has done in the past, that's not hard to do at all. You talked about Bristol being sort of a track that we can harken back to. He finished second in that race after starting 11th. He finished 4th at Richmond, which again, another short track, and that dude should have won that race. He led 228 laps of that. So this is what I'm saying. When you talk about who's got speed and who's fast on this one, Martin Truex Jr. has been fast all damn year long. It's just not necessarily been there for him. Look back at the next gen speed rankings here, the heat chart that our buddies at iFantasy Race have come up with. Martin Truex Jr. ranks second on that list, right behind Ross Chastain. He was 3rd in total speed rankings in 2022, 3rd in total speed rankings in 2023 for an average of 3 again. So listen, and he didn't have to be the fastest car on the track to win that race either, especially in 2023 where he was the 3rd fastest in total speed ranking and 3rd in green flag speed, or 5th in green flag speed rather. 1st late in the run, the 1st place car in 4th place segment speed, and then the finish was 1st. So again, Martin Truex Jr., to boil it down, really good at this track. I think he can get a top 5. And if you look, Caesars has his over under number set at 7.5. I said over because I'm still not hip on the word. I think he's going to finish better than 7.5. So give me the under part of that. At plus money, you're still getting plus 100 for him to not even have a top 5. Now you just need him to get a top 7 at plus 100. So this is almost a better bet than his top 5. But you could take either one that you want. If you can't find the secret back door, then take the top 5. But if you can get in the speakeasy, take this under 7.5 at plus 100, because even money for him to finish in the top 7, that is a solid bet.
Yeah, you get 2 extra spots to go from plus 100 to plus 110. I mean, that's, again, we have to take advantage. And if you listen later in the week and it's not available, I get it, but you can still take the top 5, obviously. But if you listen to this early, get in on it while you can, because it makes too much sense. And sometimes you find them pricing these things so differently when it's, again, it's much more beneficial for you to do it this way. And, looking at Keselowski, he's minus 110, Rod, for a top 10. But when we took I forgot to put it in the sheet, which probably would have been helpful, but his finishing position at 13.5, it's minus 120. So you're getting an extra 3 spots for almost the same price, really. It doesn't make much sense. So this is a good way to get in on it if you have the chance. I love Martin Truex Jr. this week. as King says. I think any JGR car is a solid bet this weekend. I agree with you there. All four should be really good here. And I've got more thoughts on Truex here in a little bit, Rod. Over to the top 10 market. There were some people complaining about top 10s, and I get it. Not great up top where the chalk is, right? But found some really good value guys, and then found some good guys right on the borderline as well. So I'm going to give out two of them to start. These are my two kind of long shot top 10 guys, Rod. I'm going to start with Chase Briscoe, 10-1 over on Bet365 for a top 10 finish. Look, Chase Briscoe, again, this is one of those things, Rod, where it's, what have you done for me lately, right? He finished 30th here last season, Rod. But if you remember, last year, he was literally racing in a Mahindra tractor. It was one of those red tractors out on the track with all the cup cars. It was crazy. It was that slow of a car that I really think it was a tractor. They've fixed that problem. It still says Mahindra on the side, but they actually put a race car engine in it this year, and he's been doing a lot better. So that is great. He did finish 13th here in 2022 in the first year of the next gen. He's only got 3 starts here. First start wasn't great either, but 13th place in 2022 gives me some hope, right? He's coming off a 12th place finish at Talladega. Again, doesn't really matter other than to some momentum. 6th place at Texas, though. Had a 10th at Martinsville. 18th at Richmond, not bad. 13th at Coda even. 13th at Bristol. 9th at Phoenix. 10th in the 500 to open the season. 7 top 13 finishes in 10 races this year from Chase Briscoe. Rod, you talked about Stewart-Haas earlier. I think we've seen a huge bump from Stewart-Haas, specifically in the 14 car and in the 10 car. By the way, you want to know which 2 cars they keep when they sell 2 charters? Probably the 14 and the 10, just for the record. But these 2 cars have been a lot better than they have been previously, and they're showing up, again, to the eye test of things and the what have you done for me lately. All over Chase Briscoe. I think 3-1 is a great number for him. Then, Rod, going to go out a little bit on a limb with this next one. But when I think of concrete racetracks, I think of Chase Elliott. And then the next guy I think of is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 6-1 for a top 10 finish. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but he's really good at concrete tracks. 15th place last year. You're telling me a guy 6-1 is 5 spots outside of the top 10? I like that. 2022, Roddy finished 2nd place here in the first year of the next gen car. He's got 10 top 15 finishes in 20 races. So half of the time he's in the top 15 at 6-1 to only scoot up a couple spots and get in the top 10. I love it. You get one wreck, one crazy thing. I mean, how many times have we seen some of the favorites lose tires or have issues or pit road this or pit road that or this or that? It can happen for sure. Stenhouse is the type of guy who can get it done if they can get some track position. Again, might not be the easiest place in the world to pass. So I do love Ricky Stenhouse at 10-1 this season. You know, the what have you done for me lately hasn't been great. So I'm overlooking that a little bit. He was 17th at Vegas. That's really the only thing of note. But I think that this is one of those places where, you know, and I made the argument against Kyle Busch, but there's a lot of places you could say, well, he should pop up because he's been good here, but he's not popped up and been good there at any of the other tracks where he's been good coming into this race, right? But this is one where Ricky continues to pop up and always be good every year, even when they're not doing much. So I think it's 6-1. That's worth the risk. So Briscoe top 10, 3-1. Stenhouse top 10, 6-1.
We laugh a lot about Stenhouse, and we like to joke that it's Recce Spinhouse and all that other good stuff. But we forget that there's a decent race car driver underneath all of that. And, you know, we sometimes don't give him credit for what he's done. And so I think this is a good way to give him credit for a top 10 in this one as well. So I'm with you. It feels weird, but I'm with you. All right.
And again, it's about the price. If Stenhouse is minus 110 for a top 10, then yeah, you don't bet it. But it's 6-1. It's probably not going to happen, but it's worth the risk. And then again, that's what betting is weighing the risks of things that are possible. And for the price you're getting it at, I think that it's worth betting.
And I think that doubling your money on a Ryan Blaney top 5 bet is not that bad of a deal either on this specific week. Plus 220 for Blaney as a top 5 car on Bet365. Ryan Blaney finished 3rd here last year. That's the end of my argument. He done it. He can do it again. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, this one's a little tough one because for Ryan Blaney, you know, this returning champion thing is kind of it's been an albatross on some of these guys' necks over the last few years, and they haven't run nearly as well. You know, you even look at Joey Logano, right? A couple of years ago after he won, defending champion, just didn't really do much the next season. So it's a little difficult. Blaney's average finishing position this year, 14.5. Feels like it's difficult for him to get a foothold in some of this, but you look at races like Las Vegas, right? He finished third. Phoenix, he finished fifth. Phoenix, another mile track. I mean, I know that it's not the concrete track that is Dover, but it is another mile track. Martinsville, 3/4 of a mile, he finished in 5th. So, or a half a mile rather for that one. I'm thinking of Martinsville. But yeah, still another 5th place finish there. I mean, Ryan Blaney is one of those guys. He's just outside of the top 5. He's 8th place as far as total speed rankings in the next gen era. Dover in 2022, he was 6th place, but he was the first in terms of speed rankings overall in the 2023. He just didn't end up winning that race, but he was the first in total speed rankings in that car. He's fast. He's fast all over the place, right? Just got to have the finishes to put it there. And for Ryan Blaney, I think he's on the verge. I think he's on the verge of remembering that he's still a decent race car driver, and that you talk about Fords and Keselowski being some fast at certain points. He's still fast. He's still a fast car. It's just a matter of he's got to put the finishes together. And I think this is a track that these drivers like. It's a track that it's not going to produce a whole hell of a lot of chaos. We don't see a ton of cautions in this one. So this is going to be a race where, guys are going to be able to sort of just run their race and concentrate on what they're doing rather than looking in their rear view mirror for a ton of cautions. There were 7 cautions for 46 laps last year, 13 cautions. Whoa, maybe I shouldn't have spoken too soon. But that was in 2022, back to 7 for 2021. So that's not bad at all. 7. So they're average 7 cautions here on this track over the last few seasons. So that's what we're going to see. I think a nice little race where we're not going to get a ton of craziness, which gives Ryan Blaney a good shot at a top 5, especially at plus 220.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Again, it's I think worth it at the number. We've seen enough out of Ryan to know that he can be good enough. So yeah, no arguments from me.
All right, Cody, where are we going next?
Yes, next up for me, Rod, we're going to jump over to Alex Bowman. This is one I targeted immediately this week. If you were in the Discord, which you should be, you have hopefully already bet this at plus money. It has shifted to minus money, but I still like it. Alex Bowman, top 10 finish, minus 110 over on Bet365 still. I know it's kind of climbing up some other places, but I love Alex Bowman this week, Rod. That 48 car has won 11 times here, and I understand that the 48 team is now the 5 team, and it's a different team, and we don't need to get into all that, right? But the 48 car in particular has won here 11 times. Alex Bowman has been really fucking good here. Even Josh Berry got in this car and had a top 10 last year, Rod. Alex Bowman can get a top 10. Of course, he didn't race last year. Much similar to Eric Jones, won't be racing this weekend. Had the broken back at the time. Previously to that, though, 5th place in 2022. First place where he led 98 laps in the race before. A 5th place in 2020. The other 2020 race, he had 21st. But then 3rd place, 2nd place in 2019 in those 2 races. 4 top 5s this season for Alex Bowman, actually. It's, again, a little bit under the radar, right? Alex Bowman's on the hot seat. Why is Alex Bowman not performing? 4 top 10s in 5 races, Rod. Or four top 5s, rather, in 10 races. Not bad at all. 4th place at Bristol. Again, let's look at that lightly because of what Bristol ended up turning it to be. But Alex Bowman consistently really, really good here at Dover. Could this be where he gets a win and everybody turns off the hot seat thing? I should have probably looked more at his outright number, Rod. But didn't make my card this week, but he's only 18-1. But definitely he could win this week. But top 10, I think, is a really, really good bet for Alex Bowman this week. So really like him. Get that number because I don't think that number is going anywhere but getting worse. So I would get on that earlier rather than later. Minus 110 currently on Bet365. Also, Rod, going to toss in Mr. Tyrone Gibbs. You know I had to get him in here somewhere. Top 10. It's minus 120. A little bit more juiced up, but not too bad. 13th place last year in his one start here in the Cup Series, Rod. I don't know if you've noticed. He's doing a lot better this season than he was last season, so I'll take that. 13th place at Texas, but he was 9th at Bristol. He led 137 laps. Again, let's take that with a grain of salt because of the tire thing, but showed he could be fast, showed he could be up front. 3rd place at Phoenix, 5th place at Vegas. He's been having a good season. It's cooled off a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but you had Talladega in there. Texas was kind of so-so, and it was short tracks before that, which aren't comparable to Dover. So I think getting back to the intermediate package, back to a good intermediate track where he finished 13th last year in his one career start before he was on the run he's been on this season. You got to get in on Ty Gibbs for the top 10 at -120.
Yeah, even though King, wow, really the 13th last year was really misleading.
Really misleading. Which direction was he? Was he like, not as good? I didn't dig into him that much. I just mostly looked at his finishing result. But again, if he was able to find his way to 13th last year when he wasn't running as well, I have no problem finding him to do well this week. Like you said before, King, in the chat, every Gibbs car is a good bet this week. I mean, they're plus 170 to win as a team, and you can make an argument for all four of those cars to easily win this race. And Ty is included in that. So I think a top 10 for him. Again, it's a little bit -120, maybe is a little more than you want to pay, but for what we've seen from him this season, you could be looking back at the end of this and be like, wow, look what happened. So and actually King making my point even better. Says Ty was 5th in the last stage, running laps faster than the leader, was told to save fuel because they didn't get the tank full. So hopefully they get the tank full this year and hit that top 5.
I would definitely like for
well
the tank
inside the top 10.
Yes, like the tank to be full. I always like the tank to be full before I go out on a long road trip because I hate to stop for it. All right, my next 2 bets, I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm gonna keep rewarding the books for giving us creative bets, and I hope that you guys are taking these because the more that we ignore them and we don't take them, the more they start to take them away. So go ahead and start using these markets because then maybe they'll be a little more encouraged to give us more creative markets like they're doing and to keep doing it. So I'm going to take drivers to lead a lap again. I like this one. Their number right now is set at 7.5. That's at -115 over on Caesars. I'm just really going to say we're 2 for 2 in the next gen era as far as this caching, right? There was 8 drivers that led a lap last season. There were 10 that led a lap in 2022. So like I said, we're 2 for 2 on this happening again on this track. It doesn't seem like it. Like I said, we're not really huge on the cautions, but we're definitely they're drivers that can pass, they can lead laps. Like I said, in 2022, this race was, 2023, William Byron led 193 laps, which again, you're like, well, if somebody led 193 laps, then how are our 8 drivers going to lead? Well, Ross Chastain led 98. Martin Truex Jr. led 68. Guys, there's 400 laps around this track. That's a lot of laps to split around. Kyle Busch led 25. Brad Keselowski led 8. Denny Hamlin led 4. Josh Berry led 3. And Christopher Bell led 1. That was all at 2023. In fact, if you even look at that race altogether, there were 19 lead changes in that race. That's crazy to think of when you start thinking of a race that gets kind of strung out, right? For somebody that led 190 something laps for there to be 19 lead changes, that shows you that this track is possible. So in 2022, right, where I said there was 10 drivers that led a lap, Kyle Busch led 103, Ross Chastain led 86, Elliott led 73, Hamlin led 67, Larson led 19, Haley led 19, Buescher led 18, Blaney led 8, Truex led 5, Bowman led 2. There were 17 lead changes in that one. I mean, it can happen. And I think it's going to happen again. These guys, this package, they know that they can race a little bit. They know they can pass. Pit strategies become a thing when you're not necessarily dodging cautions and everything like that. So like I said, I highly believe that we are in for at least 8 drivers to lead a lap in this one and safely cash this bet at us. -115 is where this is at.
Well, and how many times have we seen this year, Rod, where all 4 JGR cars have led over 50 laps in a race? That's 4 different leaders right there. You throw in 4 Hendrick cars that are all capable of leading and winning this week. That's 8 right there. That's not including Tyler Reddick. That's not including a Keselowski to pop up there. Like, it's a very highly possible. And then that's also not even throwing in there cycling and stuff. And could we get to a point where, a Larson jumps out and leads 200 and some laps early? Yes. But we thought we would see that at Texas too, and look how that played out, right? We ended up with 40 different leaders, it felt like, in that race. So, I don't hate it. And again, if it's 2 for 2, you're batting 100, actually 1,000% at this point. So batting 1,000 is a pretty good number to bat, Rob.
I love it, and let's do it again.
Real quick, Rod, some breaking news from Mr. Bob Pockrass. I'd like to jump in and do this. The All-Star race, we're going to have a tire experiment. You've been calling for this, and it is going to come. So 2 sets of prime slick tires from the tire test and 2 sets of option tires that are slicks but made with tread, not grooved, from the rain tire. Teams will start on the option for 200-lap race. Caution at lap 100 must make a 4-tire stop. Then also going to be a caution at lap 150. Pit stop will be optional. Again, I've not obviously diagnosed this completely as Bob just tweeted it out. But hey, we're at least getting some type of, we're going to attempt to do different tire strategy or have different compounds, whatever. That's what we've been asking for. You got an IndyCar, it works. You got it in F1, it works. Let's do it. And here we go. This will be our first look at it. So at least, and All-Star Race, honestly, is where they like to try this type of stuff. They tried stage racing. That's where they tried a lot of different things and that lead to using it later on because it's obviously an exhibition race. There's less on the line. $1 million, of course, to win, but less on the line in general. So, yeah, that's fun little breaking news there.
That compound was the difference between why Scott Dixon was able that and the fact that I don't know what his gas tank never ran out of gas, but that compound.
Well, he's got that big gas tank from last year where he won 3 races at the end of the season the same way. So
unbelievable stuff.
Maybe after he's won as many times as he has, he's figured out how to save fuel, I guess. So, but
so.
Hey, we cashed a 66-1 bet last week in F1 because of tire compounds, right? Alonso comes in, gets the soft tire at the end, lays down the fast lap, boom, cash the tickets. So could give us more different ways to bet on NASCAR in the future as well. So you like to see it, Rod. At least they're trying and listening to the people. Probably listening to you, actually. That's most likely where they got the idea. So, all right, Rod. Pat yourself on the back. Good job. Appreciate it. Rod, I think it was Robert earlier that had mentioned he was reading my mind. Noah Gragson top 10. This isn't a Noah Gragson top 10. Again, you could look at that for sure. I'm going to take Noah Gragson to be the top finishing Ford, Rod, 25-1. Again, this is another situation where it's a little bit of a longer shot, but I don't think that it's a longer shot that doesn't have a chance. I probably wouldn't bet it if it was a longer shot that didn't have a chance, right? So we're going to go over here to the Ford market. And again, we've had this conversation a lot this year, Rod. Ryan Blaney, I think, is at the top of this market, yes. But like we talked about earlier, results may vary, right? Sometimes he doesn't quite show up. We haven't quite always seen it from the Penske guys. You got Keselowski, and I made a solid case for him earlier. I'm going to make another case. You got Buescher as well, but again, results may vary. Joey Logano, hardest guy in the garage to predict. Some reason, Josh Berry, who has no top 10s this season, is next on this list. That doesn't make any sense. Chase Briscoe, who I made a case for to get a good solid finish earlier. Then McDowell, Preece, those guys are right after Noah Gragson, who's then at 25-1 there. Again, I think that there is not a Ford in this group. You don't have, this isn't Chevy, right? It's not Kyle Larson and William Byron and Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain, and it's not Toyota with Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex and Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. The Ford camp just doesn't have those. You got the last 2 champions, I know, and Blaney and Logano, but on a week-to-week basis, you don't have the dominant cars up here that you always expect. It's kind of more of a shit show in a guessing fest. And yes, they can have 4 or 5 Fords that finish in the top 10 on some weeks, but some weeks there's only 1 or 2. So I don't understand why you wouldn't take someone at this long of a shot. I think it's worth the sprinkle. Again, with Noah Gragson, Rod, 34th place last year. He did shitty here. He was horrible. But what he did last year has meant nothing to what he's done this season, right? He's coming off a 4th place run, a really good run at Talladega, pushing Brad Keselowski all day, making friends out there and doing well. He was 12th at Richmond. He was 12th at Phoenix. He was 6th at Vegas. Again, what have you done for me this season? We've seen the increased speed out of that 10 car. Gragson seems to have screwed his head on right and wants to show up, and he's down for business, and he's doing it. So I think at 25-1 to be the top finishing Ford in a manufacturer group that just is unpredictable. It's not that they can't come out and win. Blaney could win this race. Logano could win this race. One of the RFK Fords could win this race. Yes, but a lot of those guys could also run 15th to 20th because you just don't know on a week-to-week basis. So I think that there is some value in this group. Noah Gragson, top finishing Ford, 25-1. Again, could be an 8th, 10th, 12th place finish, and he could end up being the top finishing Ford, depending on how the day goes, right? So I like Gragson, top Ford, 25-1.
I mean, listen, we've seen Ford at their highest, and then we've seen it snatched away from them as well. It will come. I mean, Ford's day will come. They're not going to be completely shut out of this entire party, but yeah, I mean, it's just tough for them all together. And for Noah Gragson, I mean, look, at the price, it's worth a stab. I don't know that I feel quite as comfortable with him, especially with guys like Blaney and Logano out there. So I don't know. Again,
but Logano could come out and run. Logano could be battling Corey LaJoie for 27th all day, Rod. And would you be shocked by that? I mean, no, because we've seen it multiple times this season where him and Corey LaJoie are about, like, I love Corey, but Joey Logano should not be battling with Corey LaJoie, legit just battling him, not a track position race, just in the race. So again, and it's again at the number, right? It's not the most likely thing to happen. I understand that. He is 5-1 for a top 10 over on Bet365. So if that tickles your fancy as well, I might actually like that more than the Stenhouse one at 6-1, to be honest with you. But I'm going to leave Stenhouse on there. I'm going to play Gragson at the top Ford. I've set my card and I feel good about it. Boji Joe, I don't understand your question. If you can bet Ty Gibbs, why can't someone bet Noah SHR? I don't know what your argument is. Okay.
I think there's agreement.
So good.
All right. So
Robert says I've convinced him maybe I should run for president. I don't think anybody wants that job. Also, I'm not old enough, Rod. You have to be 35 to run for president. So
this is true. I can.
Maybe next. Well, I'll be old enough next cycle, so I'll go for that. And he's asking why I picked on Corey again. Don't worry, the picture's right here. I love Corey. Well, we'll be back on him at Daytona again in a few weeks here, but I got to balance out the love and hate. Otherwise, I get called too much of a Corey homer.
Exactly. Well, listen. I mean,
tune into the DFS show. He finished like 23rd here last year or something, so maybe he'll come up.
maybe we'll say that he gets him like 3 or 4 spots and like costs nothing for it. So, all right. I'm going back to the well because I have to, right? I mean, I think I'm contractually obligated at this point to give out winning car number bets because they've hit so many times. And this one's at plus money. And I mean, they're all at plus money, but this one should probably not be at plus money. And that's the winning car number 0 through 9 at plus 135 over on Caesars. Look, you know what you get in this. You get Ross Chastain, right? You get Austin Cindric, who's probably not going to win, but you still get him. You get Austin Dillon, which you could probably forget about that. Really, there's four guys, really. 5 if you
get Corey LaJoie.
You get Corey LaJoie. There you go. See? But you get Ross Chastain, you get Kyle Larson, you get Brad Keselowski, you get Chase Elliott. Those are 4 solid drivers in this group, all at plus money. You could take your unit and split it up 4 ways on this one, but good luck trying to figure out which one of these guys is going to win, in my opinion, right? I mean, it's for me, this doesn't feel like a cut and dry, this guy's going to win this race this week type of a race. Because I think, like I said, we've seen too much of a shakeup over the beginning of this season to really feel solid. I did not feel good about picking an outright this week. And that maybe that's just me. I know it was just a tough decision.
It's not just you, Rod. It's
yeah.
Treacherous trying to pick outrights. I mean, just in the current NASCAR, which from what I've heard lately, go back and listen to yesterday's show, NASCAR sucks, but you don't know who's going to win on a week-to-week basis, Rod. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so tough for me to nail down one. So that's why give me 4 or even, I mean, you get 9 drivers in this. So give me 9, give me a chance for 9 drivers, and they're not all bad. You know what I'm saying? Even I poo-pooed Kyle Busch, and I'm going to continue to poo-poo
maybe
Kyle
this is the one where Kyle Busch shows up.
Okay? But this may be it, right? You got Chase Elliott, who's already a winner. You got Kyle Larson, who's the best driver in the whole damn world. You got the 4 car. Kevin Harvick's won on this track several times over in the 4 as well. So, I don't know. It's just, to me, this feels like a safe band of numbers because once you start getting into that 10 to 19 range, yeah, you get the Gibbs drivers, you get Hamlin, you get Truex, but even that doesn't feel like a lock. And if you want Truex to win, just take Truex outright because this number is decent enough to just take him outright and then leave it at that. So I don't know. And then the other ranges just don't have any drivers that I feel like enough drivers that I would want to put in. So 0 through 9, lock that one in as my winning car number, plus 135 over on Caesars.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my outright card, Rod, I've got 3 picks, and 2 of them are in that number range, so I don't hate it. I know you're the number experts. I'm not going to argue with you. I would say, though, you can get either Hendrick or Gibbs at plus 170, you might be better off just picking one of those guys and rolling with it. You're going to get 4 strong chances. But I like your angle on this. And again, you get a mixture. You don't get any Gibbs cars in here, which could be a problem, but you get 2 of the Hendrick cars, you get Keselowski, you get Chastain right all in there. So again, and the numbers is right for the compared to the other car number bets.
Indeed. All right. Well, then, speaking of people that are going to win this bet or win this race, who's going to win this race and win your bet?
Yes, Rod. I am going to go to a guy that you've talked up quite a bit, Martin Truex Jr. He's 7-1. Again, the top of this board, Rod, it's all over the place. I mean, you can again, Kyle Larson once again, Rod, is plus 450. Once again, we didn't talk about Kyle Larson. Once again, I sort of feel bad because he's the best fucking guy out there, but at plus 450 when he's only got 1 win this season, right? William Byron has 3 and he's 7-1. It's so hard to bet on a guy like that. So you're getting him in your bet there with the winning car number. Maybe that's the way to play it. I don't know, but I wanted to mention he's that. But again, you can make a case for a lot of guys up here. Originally, I had William Byron in here at 7-1. I talked about him earlier. But it's Martin Truex Jr. week. I'm feeling Truex this week, Rod. I think this is the week he shows up. He's one of those guys that kind of just pops up and snags those wins when you're not really expecting it, and you should expect it this week because he's really good here. You go back to last season, and it was the true is Ryan in the? I wonder if Ryan's in the Xfinity race because last season was the Truex sweep. Ryan wins on Saturday. And Ryan is in the car. Maybe we'll have another Truex weekend where they can go back to back. Anyways, we'll get to that tomorrow. But Martin comes back, wins on Sunday. Look, Rod, you go back and you look at his finishes here. He's got 5 top 2 finishes in the last 7 races at Dover. Top 2 in 5 of the last 7, Rod, including winning the last time we were out here. I mean, probably don't need to go much farther back than that. But first last season, then he had a 12th and a 9th in there, but second, first, 15th. What a horrible day for him. Fourth, third, first. That is really good. He led 68 laps last season. So yeah, give me Martin Truex Jr. at 7-1. I love him. A guy that's getting a little bit of disrespect this week, Rod. Chase Elliott, 14-1 over on BetMGM. If you have BetMGM, I'd probably get this in sooner rather than later. He's 12-1 a lot of other places. He's dropped a little bit even from when he opened at 12-1 in some places, but 14-1 on BetMGM that I just looked at here a few minutes ago. I said it earlier. When I think of concrete, Chase Elliott is the first guy that comes to mind. He was 4th at Nashville last season, won there in 2022. Again, not a direct track comparison, but the concrete angle is there. He's shown up and he's been good. 11th place here last season, but we know that was after the injury. He was just coming back, still getting into the swing of things. He won here in 2022, Rod. He won here in the new car just 2 years ago, and he's 14-1. Oh, by the way, the last time we were on an intermediate track at a normal track that wasn't a super speedway, he won the race, and yet he's 14-1 when his teammate's plus 450. He's got the same amount of wins as Kyle Larson does this season. So make it make sense, I don't know. But won here in 22, led 73 laps. He was 3rd place in 21, 5th place in one of the 2020 races, 5th place in one of the 2019 races. He won here in 2018. He's got 8 top 5s in 13 races. 8 times in 13 races he's been inside the top 5, Rod. Led 138 laps and won in 2017, or led 138 laps, finished 2nd in 2017. So at 14-1, I don't understand this price on Chase Elliott. This is definitely, again, you can make the argument for Larson. You can make the argument for Hamlin. You can make the argument for any one of these guys near that's favorites for it. But Elliott's kind of sliding back there at 14-1, being disrespected, which for me, the most popular driver is a little surprising as well. I think he's a great bet. And then, Rod, I'm going to toss Brad Keselowski out there at 20-1 on BetMGM. I don't want to miss Brad Keselowski when he finally wins. And this feels like a week where everybody's going to be on him, right? We thought last week was going to be it with Talladega, and everybody bets on him, and he ends up coming in 2nd place, and he's so close. But I think he could get it done this week. Again, the track history is not bad here, 8th and 20th in the next-gen car. But what have you done for me lately? He's been running good. He does have 16 top 13 finishes and 25 starts, like I mentioned earlier, where I was talking about his finishing position. second place the last 2 weeks in a row. He's so close, and he was pissed last week. He gets out of the car, and Josh, I don't remember his last name, but the Fox guy was interviewing him, and he's like, Josh, I'm tired of finishing second. I don't want to finish second anymore. So, Rod, what team likes to gamble more than any other team? Keselowski, if they get that chance, they're going to gamble. 11th place at Nashville last year with a solid run. He was third at Bristol. Again, love Keselowski this week. I think at 20-1, the number's still good. That's over on BetMGM. And maybe this is the week. We've been saying it for a while, but he's got to win eventually, and he keeps getting close. So I think that Keselowski at 20-1 is worth the shot in the long shot range.
Yeah, and again, I for Keselowski, I looked at his name and I stared hard, and I want him to do it. So I think this is a good bet because we all want it to happen. I'm going to swing for the fences, and maybe the number's not swinging for the fences, but at 7.5-1 still for Ross Chastain to win this race, a name we have not even talked about once, yet he finished third in this race in 2022 and second in 2023. Right, led 86 laps in the 2022 race, 98 laps in the 2023 race. The reason we haven't talked about him much is this season has not been all that fantastic, right? Some reason Trackhouse is just not tracking this season. His average finish, Ross Chastain, 13.4, which is just and I honestly want to figure that this is because of the just inconsistency of the beginning of this season between any sort of track consistency. There hasn't been any. So maybe they haven't been able to settle into a rhythm. Maybe they haven't been able to find their footing. And honestly, it's just a tough road for Ross Chastain. Yet, I think it's one that he could very easily find himself back up in the front of this race in particular. And I think if he does, I think he's got a very good shot of actually winning this one for the first time in his career. We were talking about earlier these heat rankings, right? These speed rankings and the heat chart. Ross Chastain, the fastest in speed rankings at this track. Second at Dover in 2022, second at Dover in 2023, above Martin Truex Jr. in that chart. So he's been the fastest, right? He was second in total speed rankings in Dover 2023, second in green flag speed, second fastest late in a run, second fastest in the fourth segment, and he finished in second place here in 2023. Ross Chastain knows how to get around this track. He definitely is one of the faster cars. Has he been a fast car this year? No, but that's probably why we're getting 7.5-1 on him to win this race. I think, like I said, if he can run up around the front, if he can run inside of the top 5 for a better part of this race, he stands a very, very good shot at winning this race. So, yeah, to me, like I said, it's not a name that we've brought up enough, in my opinion, in this. And his top 5 numbers and his top 10 numbers aren't really anything worth trying to take a stab at, in my opinion, which is why I think taking it outright on Ross Chastain at 7.5-1 is probably the play for this particular shot.
Call your shot, Rod, if that's how you feel. I don't know if I would pick Ross Chastain over Byron, Hamlin, and Bell, and these other guys up in this range. But hey, he is a good concrete guy. Again, talked about that. He's won in Nashville. So if it's his week, it's his week.
Indeed. All right, Brian checking in real quick. He says Elliott cashes that 1.5 wins this week. Oh, we just talked about that.
I agree with you.
And I want to answer one quick question before we even get to
the most important question that's been posted. The most important
question of the day. Dispute between
the Wildberry. It's not even close.
Nick Fortune says Wildberry. What type of Skittle? Wildberry or original? Me, I like original. I am not a Wildberry.
You're wrong, Rod. So Nick, let us know who was on which side. But Wildberry, definitely the better one. Ash checking in across the pond as well. And CT doesn't want me to run for run for president because we'd only be able to watch Nebraska sports. That would be the second platform I would run on. I went on a 4th grade field trip with my daughter today. We went to the state capitol. He was the senator that was talking to him, was asking about proposing a bill. The students came up with having Monday off school. I told them sports betting needed to be legal. So we're working on writing that bill, Rob.
Good call. All right, get out your pen and paper. We are going to go over the bets for Dover. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, follow along. Cody started you out with Denny Hamlin over Kyle Busch at -145 in qualifying. I gave you Josh Berry as a top 10 car at plus 260. Then Cody gave you Hamlin to win the pole at 7-1. I gave you Martin Truex Jr. as a top 5 car at plus 110. Cody gave you William Byron under 7.5 finishing position at minus 115. I gave you Truex under 7.5 finishing position at plus 100. Cody gave you Brad Keselowski under 13.5 at minus 120. I gave you Ryan Blaney as a top 5 car at plus 220. Cody gave you Ricky Stenhouse at 6-1. Chase Briscoe at 10-1, or at 3-1 rather, for a top 10. Alex Bowman minus 110 for a top 10. Ty Gibbs minus 120 for a top 10. I gave you drivers to lead a lap over 7.5 at minus 115. Cody gave you Noah Gragson as a top Ford at 25-1. I gave you winning car number as 0-9 at plus 135. And then Cody gave you Truex at 7-1, Elliott at 14-1, Keselowski at 20-1 to win the race. I said Ross Chastain at 7.5-1 would be the winner of this race at Dover. All right, Cody, we have done it. We have reached the end of this, and it is time to bid everybody goodbye and to send them on their way and wish them a great day until we see them again tomorrow.
Yes, back tomorrow with Xfinity odds, which outrights just dropped, Rod. Plus 300 at the top of the board. So going to be a fun week to navigate the odds. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, Rod, check me out over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my stuff over there. I got a draft prop bets article that's out. Check that out. My mock draft is out as well. I'll have a NASCAR article coming out probably tomorrow also for the sportsgamblingpodcast.com. So check that out. And we'll be back tomorrow with Xfinity.
Be back tomorrow with Xfinity. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link to the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media. Arena Football League starts this week. Check out that YouTube channel as well. I'll be going live, breaking down some of the great stuff happening soon. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for Xfinity. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.